and share his valuable insights with us. Thank you, sir, and over to you.
Okay, so first I would like to thank the Legiloom team and and Garv who actually initiated this conversation as a part. Then Badal being the part of this particular theme and just calling me for this session. Okay, so like we'll not waste much time and like we'll directly start with the session and how things are. Like getting into intellectual property is a great thing as I cover my major part of expertise and the major part of matters which I see is under intellectual property. So let us today know how intellectual property works and how intellectual property is there and what are the basics of that certain intellectual property, that how you distinguish it from others. As getting into intellectual property, you are not just limited to India. When you choose law as your background or as a thing that you want to pursue law, you be limited to India as a part. But there are certain streams, when you go into such streams in law, you're not just limited to India, but now you are limited to other part of the world too as a part. So let's just start with the presentations which I have prepared for you guys specially. So, giving it an introduction, first of all, what is intellectual property? So, like, what do we cover actually in the intellectual property, and how intellectual property is there in the picture, and what do we think about intellectual property? So, we basically know what property is, but there is a certain addition in that word, that is intellectual. Intellectual means something generated through your intellect. For example, if I give you a piece of paper and I tell you to draw something or like do anything with the paper and give me something creative out of that, so that something which you do out of your own creativity is a intellectual thing and is an intellectual property of you, basically you can say. So for example, imagine if the first iPhone design could be copied freely without any legal consequences, would Apple have invested billions on its development? So like if there was no protection of that Apple's particular symbol, would have would Apple have been actually invested so much of money or introduced these new versions in the mobile phones? I don't feel so, because ultimately when you have protection, at that time only you can do a new invention or new investment, you can say, as a part. But when there are certain consequences where your material is not protected, you won't wish to create something new, because you ultimately know someone will copy and earn money because of that. So now let's start with the other part. So let us start with a basic activity which we usually do in every class. So what if I told you to draw a biscuit? Which biscuit will you usually draw? So I need some interaction from the participants. If I tell you to draw a biscuit, which biscuit you guys will usually draw?
So maybe Parle-G or Biscoff.
Parle G. What about others?
Sir, maybe chocolate biscuit named as Bobbin.
Okay. So two good day. Okay, we are getting some names in the chat box. Good day and
Oreo,
some
sir.
other biscuits. Oreo. Okay, good day Oreo. So these are certain biscuits like which we usually get. But whereas seeing to the activity, I have clearly written it, draw a biscuit and name that biscuit. So it could be either of the name, like it could be a name Mahavir biscuit as a part. But our intellectual has captured certain names. For example, Parle-G. When we usually do this exercise with 100 students as a part, majority students do draw Parle-G biscuit, because that is what their intellectual has actually captured as a part, and this is how it is working and so on it's going. But when we talk about a flower and I tell you to draw a flower, every flower is a different flower, because you cannot recollect certain things as a part. Whereas flower has not captured your mind till yet, but whereas in biscuit, Parle-G or some other biscuit have captured your mind and you will directly speak that particular name rather than giving it a distinguished solution. So the activity demonstrates how brand recognition works, how Parle-G is there and like it's having its market presence currently. So first thing, why I chose this intellectual property as a topic to guide you as a part. So getting into intellectual property, as I told you, you just not being limited to India and you being across other nations also, as we are registered under WTO and the other part. So let's start with the history. Like, what is the history of intellectual property and how is it came into the picture? So in the ancient times, there were certain protections which were there, but there were no actual protection. So it started with potteries as a part, where potteries, mirror were certainly protected. And certainly, whereas if you see in the olden times where cows and buffaloes were there, so usually it was difficult to recognize where the buffalo is or where the cow is. So they used to pin it with something, or they used to they used to like put a symbol on that particular thing, so that this particular cow belongs to this particular person, it is clearly visible through that cow. So these were the certain things which ancient people used to follow as a part. Then came the British era, where modern IPR came into the picture, patents 1856 came into picture, and designs act came into the picture. Then we have trademarks act, where your trademark should be protected and no one other can use your trademark. That came into the picture in 1940 as a statutory provision. Then we had a specific act, that was 1999. Post independence, welfare approach, like we started with Copyright Act, we started with Patent Act, Designs Act then came into picture in 2000. Geographical indication was there, but it came into force in 2003. And then we had this basic alignment, that is TRIPS treaty and World Trade Organizations, which came up into the picture. So what is intellectual property? So like anything which is creation of your mind, including inventions, literary and artistic works, designs, symbols, names, images used in commerce, is intellectual property. What is the purpose? Like, why are we like securing intellectual property as a part, and why do we need to secure it? So ultimately, when you secure your intellectual property, it gives you exclusive right. It comes with multiple duties, but it gives you exclusive right that no one can use your content as a part. So this is a major future, and your idea is protected. So the key features of intellectual property are, or what the characteristics of intellectual property is it is intangible. There is no territorial limit. Like once you register under WTO as a part, and once your trademark is registered, it is not just protected in India itself; it is protected across the borders also. Time bound, so there is certain time limit in this particular intellectual property. There are multiple types of intellectual property, and there are multiple time limits of every intellectual property. So here we also get exclusive rights. So here we have rights, infringement hua hai to we have rights. There are certain passing of rights, so there are multiple rights which come up when you register your trademark, or you register your any kind of intellectual property as a part. So now coming to the international framework, we have the TRIPS agreement, trade related intellectual property rights agreement, and the WIPO, World Intellectual Property Organization. I'll take you to the website directly. So like it gives you a good picture about the website. So this is the actual website of WIPO, where you can see there are multiple things. As you can see, this is the major website that every intellectual property, if you want to be into intellectual property as a part, you have to know about this website, how this website works. So there are something which we can see. There are certain courses which are free. For example, they have their own academy. When you go to the academy part, they keep organizing workshops and seminars which are like again free, and like you can really register for it. I have also done multiple courses from here which are like totally free, and like WIPO certification will be provided to you as a part when you register under this. So they provide basic courses, and they provide multiple other courses like which are very helpful as a part. Even I have learned many things from them as a part. So you guys should visit this website particularly. So now let's move to the types of intellectual property which are there. Types of intellectual property includes patents, copyrights, trademarks, trade secrets, industrial designs, and geographical indications. So these are some basic types. But how intellectual property is divided into multiple parts? And what if someone comes you and tell you that even someone comes and tell you, I want to register my song. Like, what kind of intellectual property is it, and how can I register it? So at least if you don't know that basics, that what are the basic difference between this five intellectual properties as a part, you won't be able to help that particular person as a part. So let us start with copyright. So, what is copyright? Copyright is a form of intellectual property right that protects original creative works. So, like whatever original or whatever creative work which you have prepared, ultimately that is protected under copyright. So, what do we include under copyright? We include literary work, artistic work, musical work, musical work, we include dramatic works, we include computer software and programs, we include cinematography films, and we include sound recordings. So these are some basic things which are called. For example, in literary works, we cover books, article, research papers as a part. In artistic work, we cover paintings, photographs, drawings. These are the basic part which we cover under artistic work. Musical work, songs, compositions. In dramatic work, we cover the scripts which are there. So, works covered under copyright, it is written. Audiovisual content, digital and online content are also covered. Creative expression fixed in a tangible form is also covered. Duration of copyright, so ultimately you get lifetime of the author plus 60 years. So, lifetime your work is protected plus another 60 year once you die. Cinematography, films, and sound recording, 60 years from the date of publication, your particular work will be protected. Then it is open for everyone as a part. So, what are the rights which you get? So, you get reproducing rights, you get distributing or selling the rights, you get perform or communicate the work to the public, adapt, translate, and modify the work, claim authorship. And for example, when we go to certain, for example, when you go to Sunburn or some other things, this all are protected songs or this all are protected things. For example, pictures coming up in the cinemas and afterwards going to a particular channel, for example Netflix or Geo Cinema, or a particular thing. So these are certain things where you are selling it, you are reproducing it, and you are buying it from someone. So these are the major part which are covered over here. So now we are about to do a small exercise. I want all of you to see the screen and like just give me answer that actually it is copyright or not, or depends. Like you are in confusion as a part. Is a printed textbook written by an author protected under copyright? Okay, I need certain answers. Is a printed book written by an author protected under copyright? Yes, it will be protected. Okay. Is a Bollywood song uploaded on YouTube will be protected under copyright? So yes, again the answer is yes as a part. Are students' handwritten class notes protected under copyright? Students' handwritten class notes. What do you guys say? No, ultimately this depends. Like we have certain options. Is it copyright, not copyright, or it depends? So like it depends on the student if they want to take copyright. If they want to take copyright, yes, they can. If they want to take copyright, yes, they can. Uh, is a meme created using a movie still protected under copyright? So, for example,